Hello sim racers. Today I'm going to be reviewing Formula 1 2020. From the driver's seat, I'm going to make this very clear right off the bat. If you're a fan of Formula 1 Codemasters series so far, you've enjoyed the games that they produce on an annual basis, I don't even know what you're waiting for. Just go out there right now, go get it, make it the Michael Schumacher edition. You won't regret it, I promise. For those of you who may be new to the franchise, or for those of you who want to hear the details as to why I'm saying what I'm saying, please feel free to stick around. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell for new videos. Formula 1 2020 is the most feature-filled production made by Codemasters so far, with a wealth of options, game modes, and customization options available to make the game and play the game in the way that you want to. There is a full suite of single-player modes, including Driver Career, My Team, where you get to be the CEO and driver of your own Formula 1 team, making up the 11th team on the grid, Grand Prix modes, where you can select one-off Grand Prix from any circuit, Championship mode, which allows for you to set custom championships, and the usual time trial mode, where you can compete against times at various circuits from all around the world. In multiplayer, there is weekly events set at different circuits. We have the ability to do league races, ranked and unranked races. There's the new feature of split screen, which has been added to the game, and obviously we can do local games between connected PCs or consoles. The Michael Schumacher edition of the game provides us with 4 additional cars added to the classic car roster, being the Jordan 191, 2 of his championship winning Benettons, and the Ferrari F1 2000, which was the first car that he won a championship with for Ferrari. There are also additional branded Michael Schumacher gloves, helmets, racing suits, and special liveries for your car. This year's edition of the game sees the introduction of the Podium Pass, which was a system made popular by games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, PUBG, where you can unlock a series of gloves, liveries, and other rewards. This is done by completing challenges, which allow for you to gain XP, which allow for you to unlock further levels of your Podium Pass. I should also note for you that just playing My Team mode, for example, helps to unlock additional XP, which again can be used towards the Podium Pass and unlocks further goodies. It is important to make a quick note about driver customization. When Codemasters first started implementing this feature where you could actually select what your driver looked like, they were all a variation of Anthony Davidson, but now I must admit Codemasters over the last few years have been going out of their way to include a diverse amount of choices for your driver avatar. I'm pretty sure by now that I've missed out on some features and functions of F1 2020, but that just goes to show you how vast the wealth of options really is. Let me be very clear at this point. Nothing that I've mentioned so far is as important or as impressive as the new driving mechanics and physics. The cars in F1 2020 feel absolutely fantastic. There's a weight to them and a certain grippiness in the way that they hold the track that is better than any representation that has been done by Codemasters previously. With the wealth of available customization options, newbies and veterans alike will be able to get exactly the type of experience that they're looking to get from Formula 1 2020. Driver's aids have made a comeback this year, and in addition there is now a casual mode which allows it to be even more simplified for the newest of the players among us. Due to the lockdowns earlier in the year, there was a massive uptick in esports events and sim racing online. As a result, Formula 1 2019 was featured in a lot of these events. We had Charles Leclerc, we had Lando Norris, we also had Alex Albon driving all on Formula 1 2019. And Codemasters had received feedback from those drivers explaining that the way that the cars, for example, exited corners was far less realistic in Formula Formula 1 2019 than it is in real life, and in fact the drivers were saying that it was more difficult in Formula 1 2019 to exit a corner because of those driving mechanics and physics. It would appear that Codemasters have paid attention to that and decided to alter things accordingly. So now, for example, on corner exit, the cars feel much more planted. It's far easier to put your foot down and just get out of that corner than you were able to do so before. The drivers also pointed out things like ERS management, which before used to require a driver to go through 4 or 5 stages of changes throughout a lap to be able to efficiently manage battery. However, what the drivers had explained was that that was far more complicated than they actually do in real life. So again, with the addition of that information, Codemasters have implemented that, done away with the old system of the ERS control, and now what they have done is made it so that it's essentially an overtake button, which is very reminiscent of push to pass in IndyCar, which you can use that and you disable that when you want to go back to your normal ERS mode. This actually manages to make the driving more simple and, with the feedback of the drivers, apparently somewhat more realistic. Speaking of realistic, there have been massive improvements to the AI this year in terms of the way that they drive, the way that they tend to, I guess, avoid accidents under certain situations, and the way how they actually make mistakes as well, which is a nice addition to the series. Whether playing as your favorite driver or as your custom character, it's always fun to get into battles on track with the current Formula 1 roster of drivers. If single player isn't really your thing, you can always take this to multiplayer, where you can have a series of races against ranked or unranked opponents, or choose to go into league racing, or just participate in the weekly events. Regardless of what you do, you gain experience points, which counts towards your podium pass and unlocking more rewards. Going back to my team for a minute, I just want to focus on the extra effort that went into making this game mode. The amount of selections that are available in terms of sponsorship for your vehicles, and how this affects the way how your team is paid, what conditions to get bonuses, which obviously help your team to get better, the facilities, car development. There's just so much to the My Team mode. It is a really special aspect of this F1 2020, and a lot of effort clearly went into creating this mode. Now, I do know that I've spent most of this review sounding like a complete and utter fanboy, and the reason for it being is that I've been a huge F1 fan since I was a toddler, and this allows me to live out my fantasy from the safety of my home. That doesn't mean that there are no criticisms for this game and for Codemasters in the way that they present this game. With all of the Codemasters F1 titles, there's appeared to be some element of copy and paste from year to year. So there are always elements that carry over in every edition of the game. Now, as time's gone on, if you've been following the franchise, you realize that the games have been pushed back. They used to get released in September and I believe maybe even October at one stage. They now come out much earlier in the year. And this edition happened to come out right in between the first 2 races of the 2020 season. That definitely says a lot for Codemasters and the way that they've stepped up their game and been able to bring these games out quicker and quicker each year, and still managing to keep up to date with the way that the cars look. Having said that, we haven't got the black Mercedes yet, but I do understand that that will be coming in an update shortly. Now back to the criticisms. As I said, there's certain copy and paste elements of the way in which these games are produced for them to be able to get them out so quickly. So, a lot of the animations remain to be the same from year in, year out. There was some slight changes this year and some slight updates in some of the podium celebrations, but essentially it's the same thing year after year. It always annoys me because I'm a little bit of a nerd with this type of stuff, but when the airplanes fly over the grid at the beginning of the race, I noticed those planes are the same plane no matter which country we're in. And that's obviously not realistic and just copied and pasted from game to game. But that is such a minor complaint based upon all of the great things about this game. I feel almost silly for pointing that out, but it does exist and it does annoy some people. Other things that highlight the copy and paste nature of this game is within the keybinds menus, you'll actually find some redundant keys. So for example, the ERS has changed this year and you can only use overtake mode or disable overtake mode. However, there is actions to set changing your ERS mode between the modes, just like from 2019. So I mean, they've left little things like this in. It's an oversight on their part. It's not really a big deal, but it does exist and it does highlight some of the sloppier elements of the production. Overall, I must reiterate that these are really very minor complaints in the grand scheme of what we do have as Formula 1 2020.
The truth is, I could continue talking about this game forever. There's so many different things with regards to this, and things that have been updated and special things that I really do enjoy. It's thoroughly been a pleasure for me. In general, the graphics are even nicer than they are from Formula 1 2019. The step up of graphics is not as great as between 2018 to 2019 as it is from 2019 to 2020, but it's still good enough. In terms of gameplay, there's no doubt in my mind that there is no other producer that could create an F1 experience in the way that Codemasters do it. They'll never be the best at making a sim experience. We can't ever get that twisted, but to create an overall F1 experience, nobody does it better than Codemasters. And when we really think about it, I mean, these guys are brilliant at making a game experience in general. Check this out. This is really just a menu. That's how much effort they put just into the UI alone. I think lots of other producers could definitely learn a few lessons from them. But for now, I can do nothing other than definitely recommend F1 2020. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.